everybody, hope you're all okay. Right, today I'm going to show you how to make rock cakes ready for your practical lesson. So watch this carefully, maybe practice at home before you do your practical lesson in class, and hopefully you'll get a nice baked product then to take home after your lesson. Right, I've got all of my ingredients here. So I've got some self-raising flour, I have caster sugar, I've got some dried fruit, I've got sultanas here, but you can use dried mixed fruit or raisins, or if you want to you could do plain ones, it's up to you. So you don't need to put the fruit in if you don't want to put fruit in. I've also got some hard butter because we are doing the rubbing in method today. Okay, so we want to make sure it's hard butter. This is unsalted butter. I've got some mixed spice, and we just need a little bit of milk and 1 egg. Okay, so I've got all of that ready and prepared. Right, first thing you're going to do is make sure you've washed your hands, you've got a clean apron on, and you've got out all of your equipment. And also you've put your oven on at 200 degrees. So make sure you've preheated your oven to 200 degrees. So I'm going to do that now. Okay. All right, so let's get started. So in my large bowl, I've placed my flour in there, and I'm going to add in there my butter, and we're going to use a round bladed knife. So that's just a normal knife, one of these. You're going to cut the butter up, okay? So you can hold it in your hand and cut it up like so. But we want to cut it up into small pieces so that we can rub this into the flour, okay? So we want to do what's called the rubbing in method. If you remember, when we made the small cakes, you did the creaming method where you creamed the ingredients together, okay? So the reason why I'm doing this is so that the butter can be distributed more into the flour and you've not got one big piece of butter. So you're going to rub this in. So using your fingertips and your thumb, you see that? I'm just rubbing it in. Don't scrunch it all in like this because you're just going to get one big block of buttery mess, okay? You want to rub it in, lift and rub it in like this. You can see it falling through my fingers as I'm doing that. Every now and then you want to give the bowl a turn so you're not rubbing in the same place all the time. And keep doing that until all of the butter is started to coat the flour grains. So you're getting what looks like breadcrumbs. Okay, if I just move the camera down a little bit, you'll then be able to see a little bit better what's going on in my bowl. There you go. Okay, so just rub that in, moving it round until all that butter has started to disappear to coat the flour grains. So we're giving the flour a waterproof protection, because once we start to add some liquid to flour, something called gluten starts to develop. And that's really good if you're making bread, but when making something like this, rock cakes or scones, okay, we don't want too much gluten because we want to keep the texture of the rock cake still nice and soft and airy. We don't want a bread-like texture. And developing gluten in the flour will give you that bread-like texture, okay? So that's what we're trying to stop. Right, so my flour has started to turn a pale yellow colour. The mixture now looks a bit like breadcrumbs. Can you see that as I'm lifting it out? There's still a few large lumps in there that still need to work through. And we're nearly there. Well, once you have done all of that, I'm going to start adding some other ingredients. So I'm going to add my sugar. Now I've got caster sugar here. If you've just got, you know, what we call the normal granulated sugar in your cupboard, that's absolutely fine. Caster sugar just gives a sort of lighter texture, but you can use either or. Right, there you go. Can you see now it's more of a pale yellow colour from the butter. If there's any really large lumps, you can give your bowl a little shake, and really large lumps should start to disappear. Right, so I'm going to add in now my sugar, so that can go in. So I've already measured that out, and I'm going to add in my sultanas that have been measured out, and I'm also going to add in a little sprinkle of mixed spice, so that can go in too. I'm just going to stir all that together to combine all of the mixture. Right, next thing, we need to add some wet ingredients. So also remember, clean as you go. Keep your area tidy. Now in a small bowl, I'm going to crack my egg a couple of times. Add that into a small bowl. Eggshell into the bin, and I'm going to add a little bit of milk, okay, just 15 ml, so a tablespoon of milk, just to loosen up the mixture a little bit. Okay, so I've used some measuring spoons to do that, and then using a fork, I'm going to whisk that together. Okay, so that won't take long to whisk together. Alright, whisky, whisky, whisk. There we go, the egg and the milk is mixed together, and then I'm going to add that into my large bowl. Okay, and mix all that together. So you can use a wooden spoon, I'm just using a spatula here, but wooden spoon or something to mix everything together, and then you'll start to see the mixture started to stick. The wet mixture started to bind together with the dry mixture, and it will start to form like a stiff dough. Now these are called rock cakes, not because we want them to have the texture of rocks, far from it. We want them to have a nice crunchy outside texture, maybe look a little bit like rocks because of the outside texture. And then we want them to be nice and soft in the middle. They're a little bit like scones, but more of a crunchy outside texture. Right, so you can see here now, it's all started to stick together and form more of a dough. Right, so nearly there. So I've got my oven preheated at 200 degrees, and my mixture has started to form. Right, scrape off all of the mixture from your spoon, and then you want a baking tray with some baking paper on it. And there we go. And we're going to add spoons of mixture onto the baking tray. Okay, so I'm just using a tablespoon of mixture. So get a tablespoon of mixture like so, and then we're going to spoon this onto a baking tray using a spatula to scrape it off your spoon. Okay, and then again, so give them a little bit of space to spread out a little bit. Okay, you don't want these too small either, because they will just burn otherwise. So scrape it off. And again, you're going to keep doing that. See, about like that with your tablespoon. Scrape it onto your baking tray. You want between 6 or 8 same sized balls of mixture on your baking tray. Okay, so they don't need to be perfectly round. Remember, they're called rock cakes, and rocks aren't perfectly round. Can I get another one out? I don't think I will. So if you've got any mixture left in your bowl, like what I have here, okay, it's not enough really to make another one. So I'm going to just place bits onto the ones that I've already got here. Right, there we go. So I've made 5. So you probably want 6 or 7 really, but 5, I made 5 big ones. There we go. Right, they are going to go into the oven for about 10 to 15 minutes. All right, remember, when placing things into the oven, you make sure you are using oven gloves. Okay, so your hands are fully into the oven gloves. All right, and you get your friend or somebody to help you hold the oven door open, and you place these into the oven. Set a timer for 10 minutes, and then we'll check them again then after 10 minutes. Okay, so I'll come back to you in 10 minutes. Hello, so we're back again, and I cooked these for about 12 minutes. So I said between 10 and 15. So these were about 12 minutes, and you can see now that they are nice and golden brown, and they've risen slightly. They are still soft, but as these cool down, they will harden up. So when you remove something out of the oven, remember you're using oven gloves. You hold the tray by both sides. You make sure you have a pan stand ready. So this is my pan stand here. Holding the tray by both sides, and you place your tray onto your pan stand. You make sure you have a cooling rack out ready as well, and you've got a bowl of warm soapy water ready to cool your tray down. Okay, remember this tray is hot, always remember that. So I'm going to place my rock cakes onto my cooling rack. So all I'm doing is holding the piece of baking paper and pulling the tray back. Okay, again, remember this is very hot. I'm going to place this straight into a bowl of warm soapy water. Soon as that hits the water, the tray has cooled down. It's now safe for me to pick up and hold. Okay, so you would need to wash that, dry it properly, and put it back away in the storage area. Right, here's my rock cakes now then, all ready to cool down and enjoy with a nice cup of tea. Okay, so I hope you enjoy making those, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.